My name is Meatloaf, and I specialize in loaves of meat. Good evening. I am here today to give you a history of two of the greatest things to have ever graced society. That's right, the two versions of Meatloaf. Meatloaf the foodstuff, and Meatloaf the institutionally recognised world superstar of rock and roll. Things you may not know about Meatloaf. Well, first and foremost, Meatloaf the foodstuff was, in a poll by Good Housekeeping Weekly in the United States, voted the 7th favourite dish by the standard United States family. Other things you may not know about meatloaf. The average meatloaf for an American family weighs 30 pounds. Major ingredients vary depending on family to family want on, but mainly it tends to be ground beef, turkey, pork, pepper, onions, olives, really just about whatever you bloody please. And then our good man, our man of rock and roll, a man who kept an entire country together in the 80s with his blend of rock and roll so strong and so powerful he could burst light bulbs by hitting the highest of notes. Marvin Lee Aday, an incredible man, a Hartlepool United fan. Not many are aware. Where did he get his name from? That is what, when I came and I began to do my research in the grounding of this video, was all I wanted to know. I wanted to know why one of the greatest men to have graced rock and roll had named himself after a starchy foodstuff that tastes horrible. That was all I wanted to know. My research was inconclusive, usually having to draw back to UK yahooanswer.com, eHow. And then I stumbled upon a gem of information. Apparently, our man Meatloaf was known by Meatloaf from the age of 13 for the size of his girth. That's right. And I will leave you, the viewing public, to discuss, to think back, and to think long into the night with regards to what girth they are referring to in our good man Marvin Lee Aday. Of course, is it then that Meatloaf, the rock and roll star, is indeed the greatest of them all? Is he the better Meatloaf? That was what I initially found myself asking. On research of Meatloaf the foodstuff, it was evident to even the plainest of eyes that Meatloaf had done things that one man, one great musician, could simply not conquer within his life. In the Great Depression, families were dying, they were going hungry, starvation was rife throughout the United States. And what kept them alive? That starchy good stuff, meatloaf. It's grounded pepper, it's inexpensive meats, all bundled into a tray, bashed away, cooked and served to the masses. And then we look at our good friend Meatloaf. What is his notable contributions to society? Well, he does a lot of charity work. He's widely revered, and in 2008 he appeared on The US Apprentice and released a charity single with Little John. And I dare say that it's bloody well priceless into the bargain. Now, I also had to give consideration to, if it was my final wish, what would I rather have? A meal with meatloaf or a batch of meatloaf? And I struggled to come to a conclusion. In one respect, perhaps the company of the international superstar Meatloaf would be something of too good an opportunity to turn down. A man whose album sales eclipse 43 million and his annual sales of I Would Do Anything for Love are over 200,000 copies per year. But, as his belly may suggest, Meatloaf is indeed also a greedy bastard. Jim Steinman, his then record label producer in the 1980s at the height of his fame, was taken to a Los Angeles court and a $50 million lawsuit was filed against him for copyrights and use of Meatloaf trademarks. And that had me thinking, do I want to go for a final meal, my farewell meal, with a man of self-absorbed interest? A man who only believes in his own good, when I could have a meal like Meatloaf, that is interested in humanity as a whole, interested in the greater good. A foodstuff widely revered throughout the United States as being cost efficient, family efficient, and most notably, saved an entire generation. Could it be that the United States today, the United States that Meatloaf so gracefully adores and idolises and promotes to the world, would not be the same United States of America today without the foodstuff Meatloaf? So who has made the bigger contribution to society? That is what I have to ask you. That is what I need you, and I request you do. Comments will be open on this video. I want discussion. I want to see what is believed to be the better Meatloaf. Who has made the more commendable change to society? Is one man's charity work enough to save a race? Is one man's singles and his album sales and all of his increased wealth to a nation enough simply to ask of one man? Or is it that humble, little talked about Meatloaf is quite simply the very best Meatloaf out there on the market? And I will leave you with this, one little anecdote, if you will. As part of my research, I was required to delve into the past of Meatloaf, the international superstar, and also the foodstuff. And I found that in the Austrian town of Glockensburg, every year a Meatloaf tribute act is staged, where Meatloaf impersonators from all over the world come and ply for the coveted title of Mr. Meatloaf, whatever year of the year. And then I thought, that's bloody commendable. I thought, Meatloaf, Marvin, fair fucking play to you. You've gone out there, you've done the bizzo, you've got your own people wanting to be you. That's what every guy wants. Remarkable, commendable, a feat within its own. And then, there we have it again. Little modest Meatloaf. That starchy foodstuff of little repute. 500 people cooking off in a Meatloaf cook-off in an Indianapolis town, and it attracted crowds of 2,500 to 3,000 to watch people cook Meatloaf. And again I ask you, are the 500 men of Meatloaf in Glockensburg, Austria, doing more to boost a tourism economy badly struggling in this world recession? Or is it indeed modest Meatloaf pulling in the masses for a cook-off in an Indianapolis town is in fact the greatest boost to the world economy of 2012? Thank you for listening. Please draw your own conclusions on Meatloaf. I look forward to hearing them. Best wishes, and may you all have a very merry Meatloaf evening. Take care. God bless.